going on, Coug fans? Welcome to Palouse Playbook podcast. I'm Chad Keba. We got Knowles to my left, Gavin Hyde to my right. But we're here to talk about a little Cougar football. Apple Cup just happened. How we feeling, boys? How you feeling after that loss? Knowles, I'll let you go first.
Not the result you want, but I think again, I don't think anyone thought we were going to walk in there and just absolutely run through them. They were a good team. They got a good quarterback, good running game. They have an experienced defense. They have one of our middle linebacker. Hopefully he's okay. And Alukta but I kind of had to look at each little piece of kind of how the game went. Quarterback, Zevi, I think he played a really good game. I mean, you think about what we needed. We needed a guy that was going to be able to kind of move the ball. And I think in that type of game, especially a rivalry game, you have to take some risks. And with a rivalry game, you just hope those risks pay off. And some of them they didn't. But I think we were competitive for a lot of that game. It kind of unraveled towards that fourth quarter. And you kind of have to take it there. Again, we need a running game, and it can't be Zevi. And I think that really is going to be, if we can develop something, I think that's going to really make our offense even better. Having Ellison come back was amazing. That guy, I'm excited for him. So I wish, Joel's not here on. I wish I get a little more defensive side of things. But from the offensive side, a lot to like. But just, it stings. It does sting. So you just hope that we can make the season, something good, bowl game, kind of maybe reduce that sting a little bit. But it's kind of where I'm at right now.
You, Gav?
Yeah. It always sucks losing the UW, right? I think going into this game with the uncertainty of last week, leaving North Texas with a bad taste in your mouth, and also just with the comments of not knowing who your starting quarterback was and then finding out that was wrong. It was tough going into this game being super, super confident. And it's not a game you want to go into feeling the way that we felt. But I want to give props where props are due. The overall score is not quite indicative of how the Cougs played. 28 points in the fourth quarter, completely unanswered. You take that away, and it's hindsight's always 20/20 when you say stupid stuff like that. But also, yeah, if you take out the fourth quarter, it was a well fought game. We never had really the momentum on our side, but we always were in it. We were always staying with the boys and everything. Hey, shout out Dom Canzone. Here we go. Sorry, Mariners are also in it as well, and they're actually doing very good. But back, I digress. We're talking about the Cougs. I wanted to give a shout out to Jimmy Rogers. I feel like after the game, in a presser, he was able to really, go back on what he talked about. And he actually did a couple times. There was that presser, and then, obviously being upset about, the resources that are available, and, hey, Zevi's our guy moving forward. It was nice for him to recognize, hey, I might've made a mistake. And it's not that Potter isn't good enough. It's that Zevi was good enough, and that it was his to earn, or his to kind of go forward with. So it was nice to see a little bit of recognition and creating a little bit of identity moving forward, especially with the connection with Devin Ellison. Devin Ellison hit the ground running, and I think there's no looking back for that guy. I think he's going to be on a tear, and man, what a sight to see, and against a really good team. So overall, there's positives to take out of this, and it's tough to say that when you lose to the team that you don't want to lose to, the one game a year that you don't want to lose. But I gotta at least say, hey, we can move forward with this. I think we can put stuff together. There was there was some stuff on defense, like Parker McKenna had a really good twist on the D line when he bumped up on the outside, and I thought Damon Williams got murdered. It was absolutely awesome to see that play in the backfield. So I'll wrap up that thought with, there's positives to take. You're going to have you have Colorado State coming up this weekend. You have a very tough battle against Ole Miss the weekend after that. But if you see some progress, I think that Virginia game could be a lot better than what was originally slated 2 weeks ago.
I like it, and I agree, guys. I mean, it's a tough game. We knew it was gonna be a tough game. And you just kinda just look at the box score, you think after the game, like, where do we go wrong? It's a lot of different facets of the game. You could always improve. But, like, just starting out, I mean, I think Zevi had 2 picks, one in the first quarter, one in the fourth quarter. It was just kind of like the lapse at the beginning and at the end of the game. It's like, if we just had those 2 quarters of football, I mean, it was pretty solid. We outscored them in the third quarter, I believe. So, came out firing. I like that. I mean, really in the second and third quarter, you just don't like seeing those turnovers. Those gotta slow down a little bit in a way. But Zevi, it wasn't all his fault. I mean, you know, Knowles, you talked about we need to be able to run the ball better. We're getting turnovers this last game, and I don't think it was 100% the QB's fault. He's under pressure a little bit, and he's trying to kind of fit the ball into certain spaces, or receivers weren't helping him out either, not even looking at the ball. Like, where do you feel how can we improve the running game today? Like, if you had a magical wand, what are you looking at? Is there a certain player? Is there a certain position? Is it scheme? Is how we're setting up the run? Like, where do you think it is?
I think if you want to look at maybe a comparison or look at a team that managed to be a really good run team with a smaller lineup, I look at like Oregon's offense a few years ago, especially like Chip Kelly. Those guys were not big, but they were fast. They were able to they got leverage points, and I think if we kind of look at that film again, I don't think they're going to, but like that's kind of how I look at our offensive line. They're not these massive guys that can just roll you over. They need to be smarter, and so it's trying to find, okay, how can we create leverage points, misdirection, counters, things like that. Honestly, if you look back to that Idaho game, if you have that same offense and you have Zevi in place where he's actually able to pull the ball, I think that's kind of the game you might be able to implement today that might get you those holes. Because again, the biggest part when we had Potter in, eventually when it showed he wasn't going to run it, the linemen don't have to really kind of stalk, hold, and kind of peek into the backfield. They can kind of just see, okay, the ball's being dropped, running back's going this direction. I'm putting my head down, I'm going to meet them head on there. Where if you got someone where you kind of like what Williams did, you have to respect him as a runner, so you can't just bull rush through the line. That's an advantage to the offensive line because they're kind of just standing there kind of dancing. Offensive line can take advantage of that and get into their angles. And so to me, it's kind of go back to what you had started with Potter and those kind of RPOs, QB reads, bring that in. And Zevi's a guy that will pull the ball. That's a guy, he'll drop his shoulder. I mean, I think that type of stuff will work. We're all also out of shotgun. That's not exactly great for a running back to get a downhill start. So I get that we run the pistol. I mean, but also you're putting that guy 7-8 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Not exactly ideal. I mean, great, you're running downhill, but that's a lot of yardage you got to make up before you hit there. So I'd love to see a little bit of under center. I don't know if that's even in our playbook, but I just think like Angel, for example, that's a guy that, you're just kind of handing it to him and just, okay, go do something. Well, that's easier said than done. So to me, either it's adding more reads with the quarterback like we did with Idaho, or figure out a way to get the running back going downhill. Because he looks like Voorhees seems to get a lot of those downhill calls where Angel's really not. And if we can get more of those plays, I think we'll see a little more positive uptick in our running game.
No, I agree. And jokingly, because his name's Angel, I said he's our angel on our shoulders before the season started. And I don't think we've done him a favor at all with how we've set him up in the running game. If it starts with the offensive line, if it starts with the plays we've given him, where I've seen him in his best moments is where they give him some space. Like you look at the San Diego State game, I love that where they faked the handoff. He went straight down the middle of the field and we threw it. He had a nice little 15-yard game. I'd like to see a lot of that. I'd like to see a little bit of just going to the outside a little bit and some dump off passes. See what he can do in a little bit of space. Get comfortable, because when I see him hit the hole in between the tackles, I see a little bit of timidness. And I don't know if it's just jumping up from that FCS level to FBS. I'm not certain on where his head's at there, but I feel like you need to start building some confidence and putting him in the right position to make great plays, and I think he'll start coming along because you look at his film from last year, it was so nasty. Like, he should be able to run between the tackles. The guy's fast. He's a good player. He's a good football player. So I'd like to challenge is really Rogers' staff to start finding better ways to use him. You know how to use him. Start using him, right? Don't get shrunk into those same exact plays. I feel like you can have a different running back in, and I feel like we're still running the same type of plays with them. So I'd like to see a little bit more creativity there. Palouse is somebody that I was expecting to see a little bit more. I know he had some drops at the end of the game, which was unfortunate. And that's fine though. I don't think we were really in that one anyways in the fourth quarter, but I would have liked seeing him get some more opportunities earlier in the game. I feel like he's a guy that can run downhill a little bit. I like to see a little bit more of that. I'd like to, start. You got to start hitting the defense, man. You got to start wearing them down. So how are you going to do that if you're not even trying to pound the rock through the middle? And I feel like Palouse is the guy that can do that. So, but he's been pretty consistent on the year. Like I feel like he doesn't really have a negative play. He plays hard. He's not super fast, but he's a nice Swiss Army knife, I feel like, for the running back. So I'd like to see, I guess, long story short, I'd just like to see a little more creativity with our running game and get a little bit more outside the box. But Joel, welcome to the club.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joel Walton.
Joel, I want to hear your thoughts. Like, my take too is like I consistently watch just our DBs and linebackers. I feel like they're meeting or exceeding expectations in a lot of ways, but I just want to hear your thoughts overall, just like maybe a guy that stood out and some things we can work on and try to take it easy on the D line.
Right. I like it. Okay. And apologies if any of this is repetitive. I know I'm just jumping in. I figured
we save defense for you, my man. We save defense for you. You're the ex-player.
It's my seed, though. Well, I mean, it's probably pretty obvious. You might have already mentioned it. Parker McKenna, he set it off again, right? He's top 3 on the team for tackles. That sack was clutch. Gavin and I were talking about this. We worked together earlier in the day. I want to get a chance to zoom back in and whether or not it was Parker's calling that out himself or that was a preconceived play. But yeah, I will say, very consistent. He's my defensive player of the week. He's someone that is like the go-to. It doesn't matter which team they're playing against. He steps it up. And my guess is if they have a captain that's flowing, he's got to be that guy. It just feels like when he's on, the rest of the defense is on. It's a switch that flips every time. And I think it actually will help our defensive line. Maybe if he's the one that's being able to call and set, we're actually going to do this twist. We're going to do the stunt game. Fantastic. And we're going to need that against Colorado State. That's what we're going to need to see is more of those plays, more of those moments of just, I was excited how the game started off with the D-line, and being able to see our secondary be able to trust our D-line, enough to say, hey, you own this, check, you guys check run. We're taking care of all the mess in the back. Do it the right way so that everybody's balanced when they're playing defense. So that's my two cents of to throw in there. Yeah, I was like, Parker McKenna's the guy.
Yeah, it's tough too. That D line, we had 2 guys out. We had Balone and Lamb both out. I believe Lamb was injured before the game. Balone was the guy that got injured during the game. So that was tough, man. Like Jimmy even talked about it in post game too. It's just like, how can you play at your best when you're losing? You've lost your 2 D tackles right away. So that's one thing too. It's like we looked great at the start. Defensive line really held up their end of the bargain. I felt like it's just the depth and the ability just wasn't there in the fourth quarter. It was tough. It's just like UW could do whatever they want to us. So that was unfortunate. But since we're on the topic, I want to start wrapping up this game eventually, but because it was tough. But just curious on your guys' thoughts on this UW team. My 2 takeaways really. There's 2 dudes on that team. It's Williams, their QB, Williams Jr. Like that guy, maybe next year could be that in the Heisman conversation. I feel like he's a pretty special player. He can run it really well. He throws a good ball. Got to give him props where props earned. Coleman, obviously, I think that's something we talked about a ton last week, so I won't go too far into that. I was actually happy with how we contained them pretty well, but I also think they went away from the running game a little bit because one guy named Denzel Boston.
That's what I was going to go with. Denzel Boston is kind of he's all right, I guess.
He's a first-round talent, second-round talent, so it's tough. You feel like you're watching almost like that year where Keith Price and Cason Williams were playing together, and just like they were just really in sync. There was no mistakes between the two of them, so it's tough to beat that. Like, just they would call plays and just like, yeah, we're gonna throw a jump ball to him. He's gonna catch it. There's nothing we could do about it. So it's tough. You have to, if you take away that, little bit of first quarter mishap, obviously that fourth quarter, like we played 2 really strong quarters of football that the Cougs should hang their hat on. And I've just been thinking too about it because I read, actually, I want to call out Colton Clark of the Spokesman Review. Just a terrible take. He said that the Cougs have yet to develop an identity and they've played a bad game. Zevi didn't play a great game. And I think that's the opposite of what happened. I feel like if you were to look at some of what happened during that game and injuries to the D-line before the game even started, during the game, I feel like we developed an identity. We were a team that played really well together. Our receivers, I feel like, stepped up in a lot of key moments, especially in the middle of the game. Zevi was really he slowed things down just like he did last week when he came in. 2 weeks ago when he came in initially. So it's just, there's a lot of things. There's nothing that grinds my gears more than a bad take from a local beat writer who's supposed to support your school. Do better, Colton. Do better. That's all I got.
Well, that's a spokesman review. That's a spokesman review for you. They're supposed to, this is, like you're a resident publication, and I thought the Evergreen hated the Cougs, but it seems like the spokesman review has never liked us. Or it's always a critical take.
Always a bad take. I feel like you're right there. And and after the game, just listening to the Jimmy Rogers post game interview and seeing the comments and seeing different message boards. And shout out to my buddy Spencer. He made a funny comment. He's like, "My gears are grinding," and I actually wrote this 2 days after the game when he talked about that, and a few different points. I'm just going to read it out. You know what grinds my gears? The Cougs who complain about everything, but when it comes to donating to the program, their wallets go missing like a sock in the dryer.
Ooh, that's hot.
You know what else grinds my gears? The fans who are upset about the season record, forgetting we're on a better pace than the first season under legendary Mike Leach. Leach went 3-9, Cougs. Let's wake up. Do you know what else grinds my gears? People acting like our defense is completely broken. Post San Diego State U, everyone said it was the biggest asset. We were missing key guys in the trenches during that game, Cougs. And you saw it in the fourth quarter. You can't ask a defense to be perfect when you're down players. And we're on the subject. You know what else grinds my gears? People acting like the whole Apple Cup was a disaster when it was just one bad quarter that got away from us. It was close for a while, folks. And all I got to say is, Cougs, and especially that first comment, I've said it so many times. I've said it every episode, I think. If you want the Cougs to be good and you want us to have a program that does good things year in, year out, we're in a tipping point for our program. It's called Open Your Wallet program. Like, that's what we have to do to survive right now, especially as we go into the new Pac-12. So do yourself a favor. Go to 1890 Club. Donate $18.90 a month. You won't notice it. That's 2 coffees in downtown Seattle. And if we all do it, if 10% of us do it, our team's going to be looking a lot better year over year, because I truly believe that Coach Rogers is the guy that can steer this ship, but we can't stop complaining about it if we're not doing anything about it. And unfortunately, being in the stands, all you can do is supporting with your money by buying those TV packages, by buying those tickets, by showing up to Cougar events, by giving your pride. We're the most prideful school out there, but we complain so quick and do nothing. That's what grinds my gears, fellas. So I'm going to get off my pedestal now. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about
This week's call to action. Join
Let's go.
the 1890 Club.
Please do me a favor. Join 1890 Club. Tell them Chad Keba sent you. You know
won't get a
what?
discount.
The first
You will not get a
person that
discount.
actually,
Right,
if somebody's
right.
listening, I have to support a stay-at-home mama and a baby now. But if the first person that tells me they signed up and they can show proof, I'll double my donation per month.
Let's go.
Someone help me out. Someone help me out. Somebody listening out there. But all right, enough of the negativity, which it wasn't negative. I think that was a lot of positivity. I didn't really go after anything that player or team wise, but just really us doing better. But I wanted to get into, before we go into next week's game, I wanted to talk a little bit. What do you guys? I know Knowles, I saw you watching the post Rogers post game Rogers interview, Zevi interview. Gav, I don't know if you were able to watch there, or Joel, but what do you guys take away? I'll let you start, Knowles, and we'll kind of just go left to right.
It's a guy that was frustrated. I mean, we've seen a lot. I mean, the difference between him and Leach is you saw what Rogers did Tuesday, where he said, "Hey, I made some comments that were not. I shouldn't make excuses. They brought me in to win. I shouldn't be complaining about resources, this and that." So I respect him for that, but I also respect him for what he said in the heat of the moment, because he was frustrated. There were things not going his way. Quite frankly, there's things that haven't went his way all year, and I think he's having to kind of now rethink some things. One, he picked the quarterback that's no longer starting. There's one thing that didn't happen. He said that the running back or the running game was going to be our identity. It has not shown up. And he's had to say, hey, now we're a passing team, but we need to run the ball because running the ball opens up the passing game. And he's absolutely right. So I respect him in that regard. But I do look at that saying, hey, that's a frustrated guy. His team just got beat or just gave up 59 points for 2 straight weeks. I'd be a little pissed off too, right? And you might be, first things that come to your head, resources. And that was something, I remember talking to some of my family on the game, like we just didn't have the depth. And you don't have depth if you don't have, in this day and age of football, I hate to say it, if you don't have the money to even pay backups or third stringers, you don't have depth. And in this game where we lost Balloon, we didn't have Lamb to start the game. This is where your 2s and 3s come into play, but we didn't even have them. And so to me, what Rogers said, nothing wrong with it. I respect him for coming back on Tuesday and saying, hey, I don't need to be making excuses. Like, that's not why you brought me in. So I that's a guy that understands the full picture. I think he, again, a coach at a D1 level, different game. I think he's kind of learning some things. And, I still like the hire. I am not questioning that at all, and so we'll just see how it goes.
I mean, I felt bad for him. Like, if somebody told him to apologize for those comments, like, shame on you. Like,
that would be lame.
He's just saying what we're all thinking, right? I mean, it's reality. I think it's something that it's a choice to become a Washington State Cougar. You have to really you fall in love. I didn't even know what that place was until I visited, a couple weeks before the end of my senior year. So it's like I fell in love with Pullman and the Palouse. So I call it paradise, man. You got to fall in love with paradise. It's not very hard once you show up. So I think that's one thing just to take in mind too. And I think he'll continue to kind of learn that in a way. But I just didn't feel like he needed to apologize. Like I didn't think that. I thought it was fine. But what are you guys' takes on that, Gav, Joel?
Yeah, I was gonna feel bad to counter a question. Oh, sorry, and Gab, you probably
no, don't take it over.
Right, I watched Zevi's interview, but I didn't get a chance to catch Coach Rogers. What did they ask? Did they ask him to apologize during conference?
So what had happened was he was like, we don't have the resources to compete with schools that have $30 million of NIL money and all this other stuff, and he was like, we're working with $3 million. That was kind of the gist of or I guess the summary of where he was kind of complaining about. And yeah, I'm really curious if somebody was like, hey, don't say that, you need to go out and make it right or whatever. I am curious on what that, or if he just felt in his heart of hearts that came across wrong. I'm mad. That's not what I'm mad about. I'm mad that we didn't, come together and do this. But Yeah, I'd be mad if you had back-to-back games the kind of that was set up the way it was set up too. However, I feel like identity has started to be found. And I mentioned this at the beginning of the episode with labeling Zevi moving forward. That is step one. We are 4 weeks late on that. However, okay, now we can clean the slate, go forward, create the identity, and start to build from here. But now that you've started that building process, it can only get better as long as the team's bought in. If the team's bought into his message, which for me, from the outside looking in, it looks like they've had a good buy-in throughout his entire tenure as a Coug so far. It's not that his message has been minced or anything like that, or people aren't believing in him. It's that there really wasn't a for sureness of what was gonna happen, who's gonna start, what are we gonna run? We're gonna try and do the run game, but when that doesn't work, we don't have a plan. We don't know. We're not gonna try the air because we're not an air raid offense. We're coming from South Dakota State. Now they're trying different stuff. They're putting Zevi in. They're letting him run with the ball. So I like that they've started to build that identity and they can actually move forward from here. And kind of like I mentioned a little bit earlier, they got some tests that are coming up, but it's a statement game this week. I want to talk about Colorado State and what this means to Wazoo and what this means to Jimmy Rogers and company right now. This is a statement game, and this is no disrespect to Colorado State, but you got to come out and you got to put up 50. It's your turn to put the foot on the throat and actually do something and do some damage, because you got the defense that can play at this level. These boys have proven it already. And it's something that can be repeated. It's not just a one-off. It wasn't just San Diego State and never again. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in front of us, but now it's you got to build and you got to buy into what's being said.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree there. I'm just trying to just the whole. And I think what I really respect too about Jimmy is that like you said too, Gavin, it's just he came out right away and said, no, he's our guy. And you can tell too, like he's a smart coach. Like he has an idea about things. And I think he's flexible in a way where he's learning to as he goes. And, while we're on that Colorado State topic, let's just dive into that a little bit. What do you guys think? What do you boys think about that? So Colorado State, this is a team that Jimmy beat last year. This is a team. This is a game that we should win. I'm not certain. I don't know if somebody, while I'm talking, maybe look up the lines for this game, and we can do a little action on that. But this is a game too where you're looking at Colorado State. They're out a few guys. I know, it was just kind of weird watching them play UW early in the year. I think it was the week one when UW played them. It was a close game up until that fourth quarter. So. And they played it because their offense was firing on all cylinders. They couldn't stop UW just like us, but they were moving the ball really well. So I'm curious what their injury situation is like. I know last week they had Jordan Ross, their number one X receiver. Jackson Warren, their number one tight end, was out. And then Kojo Antwi was their Z wide receiver as well. So they had 3 guys in their passing game that were out. And that's probably why you saw them put up 14 points last week versus Texas San Antonio. So I'm curious where those injuries are at. I don't know if anybody knows that yet, but
I do have the line. If anybody wants the line, right now it's -3 Colorado State.
Wow. So I'm curious on where I wonder if they have some guys coming back for this game then. That could be part of it.
Or they might have seen 2 straight weeks of 59 points plus.
This is the week we definitely cover.
This is the week. Bet the over. Bet the over. No, I'm joking. Bet responsibly. Sorry. Let me start with that one. Bet responsibly. But this is the statement. It's a statement game that you got to come in with.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel good about the game. Will we win? That's my expectation, is that we win. I imagine Jimmy's and squad, they're all putting together their heads, and Sunday night they were probably up late working hard, and they're going to be doing that throughout the week. So I know the team's been ready. I know the team's going to be hungry. So I feel strong about a Coug cover and Coug money line. So, but Joel, how you feeling about that?
Likewise. I mean, I do believe that they should win this game. I'm looking at what they did, and no offense to UTSA, but they got beat at their home. I mean, I know we're going out there. I was like, but we can set the tone. We can really light it up. If we can get, having Zevi now starting to play, getting his consistency built back up, we could do it up. We could handle Colorado State decisively so that moving forward, we've earned our respect. Because like you were saying, Gavin, I think we have an identity that's being created, and it is through him. I mean, knowing who your general is, it's like the closest thing I could say from a defense perspective, having the person that you know is going to be your quarterback is like knowing your middle linebacker, like knowing, hey, this is the person that directs us. This is who takes the calls. So I see us doing well. I did, I know I joke with Wade. I was looking at the offensive line, and I mean, if what we were doing before the injury with Balloon and just overall as a D line with what we were doing at the beginning against UW, if we can bring that right out the gate and stay with it, we shouldn't have any issues.
Yeah, I feel like Zevi's going to lead that charge. And I just pulled up some information. So Ross, their ex receiver, number 1 receiver, he was actually seen in street clothes during last game. Just listed as out, no injury listed. And then their other receiver, Entwai, looks like he has an Achilles injury. He did not. He was also in street clothes as well. The previous game, actually, it looks like he had limited number of snaps, so he did play a little bit. So he's probably not fully healthy though this week. And then also the tight end is listed as day-to-day, so that's something to monitor going into the games with the Cougs. But yeah, feeling good about Colorado State. Obviously, the last 2 weeks as a Coug fan, you're feeling a little bit down, but I say nay. I say we're going to come back and we're going to be fine. We still have Zevi as QB, feeling really strong about it. And like, honestly, I had UW as a loss for us this year. And obviously we've had 2 tough weeks in a row. North Texas was one we assumed at the beginning of the year we'd have, but Eric Morris had different things to say about that. But I still feel like this is a 6-win bowl eligible team. I still feel like we can do that. We obviously need to stay healthy though, right? Like you can see, like when we have some guys that go down, our depth is limited. So, but yeah, just you get anybody else have any other takeaways?
I did want to
wrap this up though.
Nosey shouted it out at the beginning as well, but Buddha Al Ukta, I hope he's doing well. You always want to win the game. You never want to see these guys go down injured, especially a former Coug, even though he went to the rivals and he's now at UW. I'm wishing the absolute best for him, and hopefully he has a successful rest of his career with UW.
Totally agree. Never celebrate pain. No chance. I hate injuries. So
yeah,
once a Coug, always a Coug in my mind.
Wow. Love it.
What about you, Knowles? Any final takeaways, or Joel?
I feel good about the game, especially if you look at what we did. You look at Colorado State, just offensively, they're very much a running team. They're not much passing. If you look, statistically, you have Braden Fowler, Nick Nicolossi, he's been there for a few years, but really not the thrower that I think statistically he's been the last couple. But you've seen a lot of running, which again, if you look what we did against UW, we handled the run really well. We held Coleman under 60 yards. I think Williams had, 90, 88, but most of those were on scrambles. Now, again, we got to the point where they essentially gave up the run for the pass, which again, still worked in their favor. But I think it showed that we have a good run D. It's just the passing and the mobile quarterback that I think is still causing us some fits. So going into a game with a team that's heavily running the ball, I think we should do fairly well. I mean, North Texas is another example of a team that's really strong in the passing game. And that's where we got beat in that game. So coming into Colorado State, knowing that they're going to have to throw it to beat us. And I feel confident that, now again, Balloon's going to be out for a while, and hopefully Lamb comes back and we have at least one of those guys in the trenches. Based on what I've seen Colorado State just statistically, we should be in a position to, as long as we don't just give up the bag, come away with this pretty handily.
Yeah. No, I agree. We stay balanced. I think we'll be okay. I think, this is a chance for us to show like who we are in play, especially where it's down and dirty, right there with the hog mollies. Like, let's prove it. Yeah, we might be down a couple of people, but if they can start off, set the edge, stay consistent, keep their lanes, we should be fine. Not saying like we're gonna blow people out, but I'm saying this could be the game. Like, hey, definitively, this is a team. The Cougars are someone to watch out for. This is time for us to do it.
Yeah, and I agree with all those points. And like a little quick update too for the Cougs. I know Jamie Rogers, he posted that Max Balloon, he's actually going to be out for an extended period of time. So I think it's going to be a tough blow for our defensive line. That was already a little limited on size. He's one of our bigger guys. And then also D tackle. Positive news on Bryson Lamb though. He missed the Apple Cup after getting injured during warmups. Coach Rogers said that Lamb has made huge jumps in his recovery. The coach expressed hope that Lamb will be able to play this week versus Colorado State. So good stuff there.
Also, Sony Falealo, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Apologies in advance to any of my Samoan friends that I pronounced that wrong. But he was involved in an incident after that game. And just prayers for him, and I hope that he's doing well. From all of us up here at Up West Sports, Sone did not deserve any of that repercussion, and just hope that he's doing better, and hope he gets back soon.
Sounds like he's making a full recovery, but it also sounds like the criminal that shot him, a UW fan, is still on the loose, still looking for him.
Wow.
So I don't know if I haven't seen any update on that, but I haven't looked the second half of today. But is that it, fellas?
That should wrap it up here at Up West Sports.
Awesome, fellas. Well, hey, Coug fans, thanks for joining us today on the Palouse Playbook. And I'm your host, Chad Keba. We got Knowles, Gavin, Joel. Win or lose, go Cougs.
Go Cougs.